Thank you for staying with us. We're in part 4 of our conversation with Rob, and we're looking at the issue of homelessness in Australia. Yes, it is global. In looking at homelessness in Australia and why, Rob, you were talking about different companies, smaller businesses, they're all doing their part in refurbishing empty buildings. So what comes to question in my mind is, with all that you're doing out there and achieving with these corporations and small businesses, is it in some way, shape or form assisting the government to relook in a positive way at, because I'm sure they've got empty buildings. So is there a knock-on effect, I guess is what I'm asking, by this compassionate capitalism?
Look, it does take time.
Yep.
I presented to both the Victorian Homeless Inquiry and the Federal Homeless Inquiry and told them what we're doing with these refurbished buildings. And both committees recommended to the governments at the time to look into these existing uses.
Mm-hmm.
I made a presentation, we did a presentation to the New South Wales government on meanwhile use, unlocking legislation to make sure these things are easier. That was probably 4 years ago. And now New South Wales is engaging with us to explore meanwhile use as a way of short-term shelter. And so we are engaging with governments across the country.
Okay.
It does take time because there's politicians, there's bureaucracy, and then there's the private sector. We are running far, far ahead of them, and they're just trying to catch up now.
How do you, because you're an impatient man, how do you manage your mindset, your emotions, when sometimes you must go?
Well, the way we first started this is I'm over-waiting for government.
Okay.
Right? That is the thing. We can't afford to wait for government.
So you just don't focus on that anymore?
No.
Okay.
We get out there and we just make shit happen because we haven't got time to waste. This is a disaster that's actually unfolding before our eyes.
Yeah.
But over time, when government sees there's a bit of self-interest there, they pick up their eyes and say, "CAC, we sort of help." So the governments are changing their views. I would say New South Wales is leading the pack. They are seriously looking into meanwhile use as a positive way to actually reduce homelessness. They're engaging with us in very good conversations. With Adrian Harrington, our New South Wales chair, we've actually helped to facilitate a change in legislation to make things quicker. There's still a few tweaks to be done there, but Victoria needs to do the same thing, as does Queensland, South Australia, Tassie, WA, Northern Territory, ACT. It's an issue for the country. Okay. But we are hopefully providing a positive view and an attitude of collaboration, because this has to be done by collaboration. And let's work together in the national interest, because, I said to you earlier, we should declare war on homelessness, right? Not because it's a social issue, because it's actually an economic issue for our country, but why a war? Because during war, enemies unite.
Yeah, we come together.
We are in crisis and we should all be leaning in to solve this, because it takes a long time.
Yeah.
To get to where we are now, it's taken 30 years. Unfortunately, it's going to take 30 to 40 years to get back out.
To fix it.
There is no short-term pressure relief valve.
Yeah.
And unless we have a long-term perspective, unless we pick the target that we need to hit, we're never going to have a strategy that actually gets us out in 30, 40 years. And it must be bipartisan.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a non-political issue.
Yeah.
It's fundamental infrastructure. It's about the future of a country.
Yeah.
We believe that housing is fundamental infrastructure for a future prosperous Australia. And without it, you haven't got a country.
Well, we don't have a community.
We don't.
Because there's too much division. Now, you're talking about the various states. Tell me about Queensland Rail.
Well, we're doing a project in Queensland with Queensland Rail. They've had some empty buildings on Queensland Rail property that now we are refurbishing, and it's for vulnerable women. Even though we're agnostic as to which cohort we help, vulnerable women seem to be the one that's always on top of the list by all the not-for-profits. So we're doing that in Western Australia with Uniting. We did it in Tasmania with Vinnie's and Bethlehem House. We did it in Victoria with the YWCA twice, actually. One Better Living Group with the community, Southport Community Centre, which is both men and women. We did one with the Eastern Suburb for women and children, and we did one in St Kilda with Mirvac for young kids under 25.
Okay.
They all need shelter. And these are all buildings that were sitting empty. In South Melbourne, we had 31 apartments were sitting empty. We had Better Living Group come down. We were on Current Affair with all their staff on a Saturday to start works.
I watched it.
It would have cost $700,000. We used 50 grand cash, and that was donated by a philanthropist.
Yep.
And the Southport Community Centre, those people are loving it, because otherwise, where would they be? And we can do this across the country.
Well, you started Housing All Australians in 2019?
Yes.
Yep.
There was three of us who started, to be fair.
Yeah.
Myself, Lisa Kingman, and Louise Rutten. We're all there forming the organisation.
Yep.
Some of the stuff happened before, but we've evolved into a national organisation with a national board. We've now got subcommittees, because again, at the end of the day, there's economic studies, there's private sector instruments. There's quite a few things to do, but we are very, very focused on housing.
Yeah, but 2019?
2019 is, yes.
So 2019 to present time.
Yeah.
How many, give us the big picture of how many people have had a roof over their head because of what you've all achieved so far.
Let me answer the question in a different way. Is that we've provided over 133,000 room nights for people across this country at no cost to government. And we gave it to not-for-profits because they actually manage the people.
Do we know how many people that resulted in? When we say 133 room nights, my brain goes, yeah. But my part of me wants to go, how many people? It
varies because, again...
Can we get a rough idea?
With the YWCA, as I said, 32 rooms helped over 140 women in 4 years. Some will stay there for a long time.
Yes.
And some will stay there for a short time. They just need the stability and safe place. So in terms of people, I don't have the number. We count lots. Because the CEO of Launch Housing recently has quantified that if they had to actually use hotel rooms, that would be over $25 million of taxpayer money.
Wow. Okay.
And we've only just started.
Yeah.
This has got a long way to go.
Yeah.
There's more people approaching us every day.
You're still just toddling, aren't you?
Well, we do, because you don't know a building's empty until someone says, hey, have a look at that building, it's empty.
Well, that's one of the things with your website, pop-ups with purpose. In asking people to contact you when they're going on their walks or whatever, they see a vacant building, just call it.
Well, you should
talk about that.
You should mention a bit about how we met, because I had a radio national interview, which you heard me speak, and that's how we resulted in this conversation. But I can tell you from that conversation, we've got things happening in Geraldton. There's something just outside the ACT where people have actually walked past and said, this old hospital's been empty for so long. So through that publicity, people are reaching out. Not everything's suitable, but they are reaching out and saying, we're aware of this thing here.
Yeah.
We need to have a national movement supported by each state government and the federal government. Let's locate these empty buildings. Let's see how much work is there to be done. Let's refurbish them, take people off the street, give them a safe place to call home, and they could then become productive citizens. That's the whole objective, is a roof over someone's heads. They've got a greater chance of becoming eventual taxpayers than tax recipients with the unintended consequences and welfare payments.
Absolutely. Look, as a facilitator and trainer for 30 plus years, and I often use the line from the boardroom to the jailhouse and most points in between, because they're the places I've taken my trainings. And a lot of those trainings have been people chronically long-term unemployed. And until people have until people have a roof over their head, there is no way in the world that they can truly put that effort in to be able to shower, to go for interviews, to be able to put food on the table. So just getting back to asking people to notify you if there's a vacant building, because I sometimes hear people say, over the years I've heard this, and I hear people complain, oh, that building's there for years and blah, blah, blah. And I often say, can we please stop fueling the problem and start looking at what are the solutions? And that's what I hear what your organisation is doing. So we'll take another break and we'll come back for the fifth part of our conversation with Rob. Stay with us.